Eurovision.
That's good.
Eurovision
It's so
2018.
good.
It's so good.
Was that a Eurovision
It
track?
sounds like it came from one of the stands.
I
You
thought
had your Kazakhstan.
It had a bit of Moldova
Uzbekistan.
to it.
You reckon?
But, you know.
Come in,
Uzbekistan.
Moldova. Hello and welcome to the CarsGuide Podcast, where we tear down, pressure test and rebuild the issues of the automotive week. I'm James, and with me are Richard.
Hello.
And Matt.
G'day.
This week, among other things, we'll look at blue oval developments, mammals that don't give birth to live young, and a man who's out of his goddamn mind. But first, Musquatch. Well, it couldn't have happened at a worse time. Tesla's chief of engineering, Doug Field, is taking some time off.
Right.
A sabbatical.
Okay.
It's not a pressurised time at all. There's not much going on. It's a great to get away with the family and take it easy, recharge his batteries. Has he burned out? Did he walk out? Or was he carried out? Of course, crazy Elon's still in charge of production, sleeping at the factory, says building cars is hard, except he's at the Met Gala at the Museum of Modern Art in New York with Grimes. Stepping out. So not many cars being built down there.
No, look, this is a fairly significant position that this gentleman holds as well. He's the Senior Vice President of Engineering. And if anyone needs a Senior Vice President of Engineering, it's Tesla right now. And so the official statement is he's just taking some time off, as you said, to recharge and spend some time with his family. It's not Christmas. They're supposed to be hitting their target of, 3,000, now 6,000 cars.
Yeah.
And they've issued an addendum to that as well, saying he has not left Tesla. So I'm picturing this poor bloke.
So he's brought his family into the Tesla plant. If he hasn't left Tesla, what's going on?
They bring them, and that's a holiday at
That's
Tesla.
great.
They bring your family in.
It's like a fun park.
You go to the holodeck, the Tesla holodeck. No, I reckon he was just sitting in a corner, just going
shivering. Fetal position or something like that.
Wow.
Like they're under so much pressure right now.
Well, because Elon had said he's probably the best engineer that in the world, but he's not good enough. That Elon has to take over.
Wow.
He'd previously been quoted as saying that this person was, but he's got a solution.
Yep.
Which is, of course, a hackathon, where all of the propeller heads that exist in the Tesla world, the Silicon Valley bros, are going to get in there and just blue sky it till it's not a problem anymore. They're going to get the whiteboard out, or actually the smart board. They're going to be just laptopping it. They're going to have the whole thing squared away. And we'll see what comes of that.
I think blue sky is the wrong approach for Tesla right now. I think they need to go blue collar and get some people in there to do some work.
Yeah, wrong type of blue.
Great point, because the sad fact is that the Bloomberg Model 3 production tracker is at 2,473 for the week just gone. That's up on 1,680 a week the week prior.
Yep.
And Elon did set a burst build goal of 6,000 a week. I'd incorrectly said that was by June, but it's actually by end of June. So we're talking 6 more weeks, and they're going to be at 6,000. So believe it,
apparently,
or not.
I don't.
The reason for it, though, Musk has come out and revealed on Sunday the hackathon is there to fix robot choke points.
Huh.
So
there are people in there just choking the robots. Robot choke points.
Robot choke points.
Which means fling them.
Get the robots
out. Get some people in. And I think that's what's happening in large part, is that just they're hand assembling things that the robots were not doing.
I'm not sure how a hackathon's going to fix that.
No.
That's just quite simple, I think.
You're not sure? They absolutely are. So stand by for 6,000 a week by the end of next month.
Right.
Okay.
Believe it when we see it.
Moving on. Matt, you've driven the new Fiesta ST and Mustang from Ford. Now, there are some embargoes in terms of your drive impressions of the cars, but what can you tell us without tripping up on those limitations?
I can tell you what we already know,
Okay.
is that they're coming to Australia, both the Fiesta ST and the updated Mustang range. The Mustang will arrive first. It'll come here early June in V8 form. Then I think it's about September that the EcoBoost version will come. Both have seen some pretty significant changes. Obviously, we're getting a 10-speed automatic in place of the old 6-speed across both drivetrains.
Cool.
Still, obviously, muscle cars, so there's a bit of bit of fun to be had with these cars. And with the Mustang, the V8 has seen big power bumps, and also the 10-speed auto makes a big difference to the way it drives. Obviously, I can't go into too much detail on that just yet, but one of the biggest improvements is that it's got a set of adaptive dampers. So they're a MagnaRide adaptive system, but they're optional. They're $2,750 as an option, and all
meteorological or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so but it's too hard to
particles
explain.
of metal in the oil.
Yeah,
magnetized.
Yeah, and so it helps level out the ride and that sort
Yeah.
of thing, and makes it handle a bit better when it's in the stiffer setting. That's a great step forward for the Mustang, but probably one of the most impressive things I think is that it now has a standard adaptive exhaust system. So you can have a quiet start for your neighbours if you don't want to annoy your neighbours, which I've driven some cars home and got up at 6 a.m. to go to work, and I've gone, I don't want to start this car. This is going to be too noisy.
You roll it down the road. That's what I do.
An AMG
Well, I can't. Like, I'm in a driveway next door to my neighbours.
Yeah.
So.
AMGs, Maseratis, other things.
You start out, it's like,
Sure.
what are you doing?
Sure.
Like, just shut up, man.
Drawing
Has to be
attention to
stealth
yourself,
mode.
which
Yeah.
is a big part of the plan.
Exactly, but there's a quiet start system, and also you can change the volume setting depending on what you want. That's going to be offered on the 4-cylinder and the V8, which is a pretty impressive thing for Ford.
Not that you need it on a 4 though.
No, the
That thing
4 doesn't.
is so
I
quiet.
can't say this, but the 4 doesn't sound as good as the V8. But I think that's a proven
I
point.
think we know that. Hey, ANCAP ratings. Do we know anything more about that?
No, the 5. Well, it's never had 5-star. It had 2-star for the previous one in Australia for the ANCAP for the Mustang, and they retested it in Europe for the facelifted version for Euro NCAP. It's 3 stars there. We don't know whether Australia will see a retest of the Mustang. Obviously, there's more safety equipment, which is terrific. More active safety equipment, AEB, lane keeping assist, that sort of stuff. But still has poor crash protection, and that's the real problem, right? That if you can't perform in a crash, it's no good trying to stop it anyway. So.
You roll the dice, might end up with 1.
One
star.
You could,
You know,
but,
0. Has anyone got a 0? No,
I doubt it.
That'd be.
but then
Only
there's
the ones that abstain from testing.
Then there's a Fiesta ST. Obviously, big change for that car from a 4-cylinder turbo to a 3-cylinder turbo, but they've managed to give it more power than the previous one. So, equivalent power on overboost. So this one doesn't have an overboost function. So it's 147 kilowatts and 290 Newton meters from a 3-cylinder engine.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
just under the 86's outputs as well.
Yeah. And more torque than the 86
That's right,
by quite a margin. And it's heavier but more powerful.
Right.
It'll use about 6 litres per 100 Ks, so pretty efficient. It's got a 2-cylinder mode, so on light load, it can run on 2 cylinders only. That sounds a bit weird when you take your foot off throttle and it goes...
Right.
Yeah.
Bit strange, but...
That was a bit close to a drive impression there, Matt.
sorry.
Whoa.
Pull
Okay.
it back there. Pull it back there.
Okay, and also the exhaust sounds amazing. I can't say that, but what can I say is we've come to expect a lot of the Fiesta ST. The previous generation one was a benchmark setting
Absolutely,
car,
agree.
and you'll have to wait until overnight tonight to find out.
So if that 3-cylinder engine ends up being a bit stressed and gives up the ghost, you'll need to call back on your Ford warranty. Mm-hmm. And
Good segue.
the Ford warranty has just recently, as in the last week, since we last joined the podcast people, has gone to 5 years and unlimited kilometres, which is a heck of a lot better. I think they're at 3 years unlimited.
And three and 100.
Yeah.
3 year 100. So now 5 year unlimited, which is, night and day. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's still a little way away from Kia, which is at 7 years unlimited.
That's
Tesla
right.
has 8 years on its cars. But is it a case of, pat on the back, well done, or geez, about time? They've been lagging on that. What do you reckon, Richard?
Look, I think it's the latter. I think it's about time. 3 years, 100,000 kilometre warranty. Even though Toyota still offers that as well, I think Toyota needs to pull its socks up as well and offer a longer warranty. Kia's had that 7-year unlimited warranty since 2014.
Yeah.
And it's still, up until Tesla came out with its 8-year warranty, it's still been the best.
Well, it's that classic conundrum, isn't it? We've spoken about it before. Does a big warranty say we have ultimate confidence in our car?
Yep.
We we are so sure that this thing will serve you well, we can go out there with a 7-year warranty? Or does it prop up a bad brand image by reassuring people and getting them to come in the showroom and assuaging some of their fears?
And I think that's the thing with Toyota, is that they have this reputation that they are unbreakable and that they will last longer than the warranty suggests. Yeah. But with Ford, I spoke to a Ford rep at the Mustang and Fiesta thing, and they said that basically the whole point of having 5 years now is because that's where the market is. Like, the market's moved to that point where 5 years, unlimited Ks is what's expected.
Yep.
And if you don't have that, then you're falling short. If you're exceeding that, then thumbs up to you.
Yep.
But I think that it's a good move from Ford. I think the ACCC will probably have some input into the brands that still maintain their 3-year 100,000 K warranty, because they're looking at that at the moment.
Yep.
And we can expect more of this as a standard, I would say, in the future.
Which is good news for car buyers.
Yeah, it is.
Undoubtedly. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Great news.
Speaking to family and friends and people who aren't in the industry, to them,
isn't it, Richard, family and friend?
Family and friend. Family.
Is it plural?
Mainly just as friend.
Just a friend.
Just friend.
Just
and
one.
even then
It's a bit tenuous.
That's true. I don't really know their last name. But according to what Peter says, Peter reckons that Pete, I think that's his first name. He reckons that a long warranty suggests that it's a value add proposition.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
I
Thanks,
think
Pete.
with Kia, for example, if you bought a 2014 car with the 7-year warranty and you're selling it on now, still with a couple of years of warranty left.
That's right. Because it's all transferable. So
that makes you feel good as a buyer and as the seller.
Yeah.
Agree.
It's still got 3 years left, mate.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of value adds and Ford, the Ranger. So we've been going double cab ute mad lately. And the Ranger, particularly the Raptor, has been creating a lot of buzz. But now Ford's offered you the option of the drivetrain from the Ranger Raptor in your common or garden variety XLT and Wildtrak. So if you want to, keep this relatively civil veneer, but have all the powerhouse underneath, you can have it, which seems like an interesting idea.
Yep, I'm definitely in agreement with that. I think that offering buyers the choice is the key thing that Ford has done here. Obviously, they want to get as many buyers as they can, and there are a lot of naysayers out there about that new Raptor engine with low capacity 2-litre, like it's going to be highly stressed. It's got more torque than the 3.2, but the 3.2 is a more brawny, muscly, relaxed engine theoretically.
Yes.
And so there's to have that option at a lower price point is really smart of Ford. They're obviously capitalizing on the fact that at the moment they're very strong in that dual cab 4x4 segment. They're almost the leader. They're neck and neck with Toyota last month, but overall this year I think they're ahead. Because
it's really Toyota Hilux that picks it all up in the 4x2. And Ford doesn't really match them in that area.
Exactly. So it's great that buyers are getting these options, but then yesterday we were talking about it and we were saying that the Raptor, $75,000, it sort of makes it seem a bit expensive when you can get a XLT with that engine for like 60.
Yeah, it does. So it's a bit of a gamble on their part, but I suppose it's just broadening the choice.
Can't wait to drive the 10-speed auto though, because I can't say this, but in the Mustang it was pretty good. So.
Okay. Look. With that, we'll draw a line under the Blue Oval News. That was an entire section of Ford news, but I think it was all worthwhile. But now, forget your Victor Mowers, Vegemite, and Hills hoists. Here's an Aussie icon with a focus on the future.
Life's a journey, and for over a century, Winton's been helping Australians enjoy the ride. Behind the wheel of a Winton, you're comfortably in control of the most efficient, enjoyable, and brilliantly engineered car in the world. In fact, from class-leading luxury and performance cars to light trucks, heavy haulers and agricultural equipment, all supported by our no-haggle lifetime warranty and industry-leading service, Winton covers all the bases. Winton, Australian with a world of difference.
Winton.
I love Winton. I love it all.
Calms everything down yet excites you at the same time. It's extraordinary. It's weird. It's like a
drug.
Yeah.
Well,
it is. And speaking of drugs, Frosty Chops. Frosty, he's the head of corporate and government relationships at Winton Motor Company. We've been trying our best. We're into the 30s now of this podcast. And trust me, we have been pestering Frosty to be on here every week.
From the first episode.
Yeah.
And he's let us down.
Anyway, he's of course on his way back from Eurovision in Lisbon. He has a special management arrangement with Jessica Mauboy, who unfortunately took a bit of a hammering over her performance of "We Got Love," a song that Frosty had a hand in authoring, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah, he is an amateur lyricist, and he does quite well.
Well, we've heard all about his music in previous episodes.
Yeah,
of the podcast.
Absolutely. So
we can't talk about it though.
He and
that's
Jess.
right.
I don't know what you people are talking about. But Frosty's also been calming the media waters and making a connection with the winner, who was Netta Barzilay from Israel. Obviously, just as valid as Australia. As a contestant at the Eurovision contest. Both of us clearly in the Eurozone from the beginning.
Well, they're closer.
I missed the Australian dollar going, but I think the Euro makes sense.
Yeah, big time.
It does.
But New South Wales, just for a second, let's focus on New South Wales. Drivers now in New South Wales face a $300 fine for passing too close to cyclists. So up to 60 kilometres an hour, you must leave a metre, and beyond that, 1.5 metres. And this brings New South Wales into line with other states that have had similar legislation for some time. So, Richard, I know this tends to get your goat. Come on, poke. You're going to poke that bear, aren't you?
I can just so angry. I don't even know how to make words at this point. Okay. On the way to work this morning, I was passed by no less than 6 cyclists. I was still. But they passed me. Do they get fined $300?
Notoriously slow driver. You are a very slow driver.
Well, I was stopped in traffic.
Oh, okay. You were stopped.
I was bumper to bumper traffic, and they were splitting lanes.
Yeah.
And, they passed me within, one nicked my mirror. Not nicked it, but went past and hit it.
Stopped, broke out the tools, stole your mirror and carried on.
They're amazing. But, look, are they getting fined $300 for passing too close to a car?
We'd have to look into the legislation. Maybe it is reciprocal. I doubt it.
Yeah.
But we'll check that out.
I just think get off the road.
Oh.
No, seriously. It's for your own safety.
Wow.
Ride on a bike path, but not on the road.
That's a big call. Gee whiz.
They don't obey the rules. They'll when they come to a red light, they'll go across the pedestrian crossing, and then they'll go up into the footpath, and they'll go back round again and keep going on the road.
I think
can't do that in the car.
You can't tar them all with the same brush. Just like you can't tar drivers with the same brush, saying that every driver's a bad driver. So
no, every driver's a good driver.
No, they're not.
Everyone who drives a car is good. Everyone who drives a bike, rides a bike. That's what you got to do on a bike. They're bad.
Hold on, you're driving a bike.
Well, no, I don't know what it is. What do you do when you're on a bike? Is it riding? Yeah,
you ride.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I don't do it.
Do you combine with it?
Combine.
Wow,
I don't know.
That's a whole different topic.
When you're pedaling a bicyclette.
Anyway, okay, let the floodgates open. We want to hear your thoughts on whether or not bikes, cars, are they compatible in 2018, particularly in city and built-up urban areas. It seems like the New South Wales government, for one, is saying it's not going to go away. We need to be careful and put an exclusion zone around bikes and enforce it. $300 is the sting if you do. Whereas Richard here would say, no, bikes' time has passed. They shouldn't be on major roads. Time to call it quits. So let's hear your thoughts. Open up the email floodgate. But speaking of exclusion zones, Hamburg this coming week is set to become the first European city to ban diesel cars from parts of its CBD. So it's probably going to happen in this next week. The German Federal Administrative Court in Leipzig made such a move legal in February this year. So it's only taken until now, May, for Hamburg. They've got all the signs up. They've just had a red line across them ready to take those off and make it illegal. So unless you're in an emergency services vehicle, you'll need Euro 6 compliance to be able to go into these particular designated zones. So stand by, I would argue, for other cities to pile in. There are German cities lining up to do the same thing, and for resale values of even fairly recent diesel cars to plummet.
My God, that is fundamentally bad. I'm so annoyed. Like, what's wrong with diesel?
Wow. God, he's angry this
Wow.
week. What did we do to him?
Do they want you to get on a bike or something? Is that what the deal
I
is?
feel like moving slightly further away. You've got a lot of rage.
What's wrong with diesel? A lot of people
What's wrong
need their
with
diesel
diesel?
cars to get to their jobs.
Mate,
and
what's wrong with
Some
diesel?
of them are carers. And
As I understand it, diesel particulates are just about the same size as the little air sacs in your lungs.
Yeah.
They tend to go in like a piece of a puzzle, which isn't exactly a good thing.
breathe through your nose.
Yeah,
That
right.
still connects to your lungs, sir.
still
but
does connect to your
You've got
lungs.
little hairs in there that stop the particles.
So diesel has been found to be a bit of a cause of cancer. So I think there's...
That's a myth.
Okay.
Apologies to anyone out there
Yeah,
who may
who's
have been
suffering.
impacted from that. But
Exactly.
diesel, I think this is a smart move. I think diesel is on its way out. I think electric cars will fill that void. You can forget diesel. They will use it for long haul vehicles, for example. But in urban centres, this makes absolutely perfect sense.
Where does the electricity come from, Matt?
The socket
The
in
grid?
the wall.
Yeah, from the
Where
plant.
else?
The grid.
Yeah,
The
grid.
Yeah, from the grid.
In Germany,
yeah.
it mainly comes from wind.
But that's a valid point. Of course, the generation, the energy at source is a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
But I suppose what's being talked about here is the clouds of diesel exhaust that builds in cities, and that's what's the subject matter here.
Is petrol next? Is that what we're
Yeah,
what
it
we're
is.
faced with?
2050.
Yeah, probably.
Bye-bye.
God, I got to move.
To Mars.
What?
So I don't know.
Out of this room?
to the cool planet.
Now, look, okay, we've heard from Richard. Speaking from people that are out of their goddamn mind, FCA chief, who has a 1 foot in Italy, 1 foot in the United States, Sergio Marchionne, sent an email to his PR boss. This is several years ago now. This is about 3 years ago when the whole Dieselgate scandal was erupting, and said, "Are you out of your goddamn mind?" And his head of US communications, Gilberto Ranieri, released a statement saying that Chrysler was not using cheat devices on its Jeep Grand Cherokee diesels. Now, at first flush, you might think that's madness. It's actually Marchionne saying, just shut up, don't say anything, we're not in this. It's all denial, denial, denial. But it was more that he was worried about if it emerged that there had been some kind of skullduggery, an initial denial, and this is a couple of days after the whole Dieselgate thing blew up. If there was a subsequent kind of accusation and prosecution, it made things 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If there's been a murder in a room and the police come in and you put your hand up and say, "I didn't kill the person," they're going to go, "You just come with us, please." It's straight away.
That's true. I mean, you have first-hand experience of that,
Yeah,
quite literally.
both hands
When
experience.
any murder that you've actually carried out, no admission of guilt
I
up front.
do
It's
not-
gone all
Yeah,
the
You
way.
keep quiet.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a tip.
You just, it was Richard in the hallway with the candlestick.
What's the term? Plausible deniability, isn't that
Yeah,
a thing?
yeah.
I'm with you. I think Sergio has a point to have
Yeah.
sent that email.
Oh, I think
what
he
the
has
hell
too.
was that guy
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah. What
Like
are you doing?
Raising your head above the parapet.
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
keep it down.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
You
You-
don't know.
Unless he was 100,000,000% sure.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like he was.
Doubtful. But, speaking of people spouting utter rubbish, a word from those cheeky young chaps at Oversteer.
When you're done listening to these old farts ramble on,
Can I tell a story?
come and listen to the Oversteer podcast, where we talk about the stuff that kids love.
Story time with Mitchy Boy. Yeah, because if I don't try, I won't fail.
Like, you know how you roll into a petrol station and you're like,
would you rather be designated driver for a group of kids on a sugar high or a group of super drunk adults?
Yes, the Oversteer podcast has everything, and you can find it on the Cars Guide website, iTunes, and where all good podcasts are sold.
Right.
Listen to him again.
I hate them.
That's your standard response. You've got to get over this hate.
They don't wash.
Maybe you
There's
should.
so much anger just oozing out of
is.
every pore from you today.
Maybe
Richard.
you should go and join them on their podcast and see what they think of you.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea. Do you want to do that now?
Let's tee it up.
Pop over. Where are they? They're in their alternative reality one.
But this is madness of another kind.
Okay.
Recall madness. Just so many brands. Now, it's good for consumers, but I suppose at the same time it's concerning in that there are so many cars being called back for rectification work on a whole range of things. We've got, in the past week, a Jeep, Kia, Nissan, a Commodore, Holden Commodore, Subaru Forester, Tesla, the Model S, a couple of Audi models, and Volkswagen Polo. We've just had recent news on that today.
Yeah.
They're just, can these people, just get their quality game and safety game in order, please?
Look, recall's good. It's the responsibility of manufacturer to follow up any issues that might be with cars. Some are really tiny, some are a little bit bigger. And just because the car company is issuing recalls doesn't mean that there's anything fundamentally wrong with their vehicles. It means that they've actually got a duty of care.
Winton has never issued a recall notice in its entire 101-year history.
But that's because the Winton's a great car.
That's it. They're perfect.
Yeah.
That says it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're the gold standard in terms of recalls. They haven't done one.
So this is what we've had. We've had 2004 to 2007 Jeep Cherokees being recalled because of excessive corrosion to their control arms. You kind of need control arms.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big one.
On the topic of Cherokees, 2018 Cherokee, which has been equipped with a 2.4 litre engine, incorrect fuel tubes in those.
Right.
Now that's a fire risk. Other issues that we've got, Kia is recalling the 2017 Rio.
2017 Rio. Okay,
Yep.
what's that one?
Child locks.
Child locks.
Inactive.
Okay.
Either they're locking a kid in or they're not
Or locking
a
a
kid
kid
in.
up.
Yeah. Nissan is recalling its J11 2017 to 2018 Qashqai. Another child issue. No, not a child issue.
We talked about what a distraction they are. So
Yeah,
actually
12
locking
times.
them up is not a bad way to
That's
go.
true.
If the recall allows you to do that, it could be good for safety.
This is not a child issue. It's a body control module issue to do with the lights.
Child's body.
The child's body. And Holden is recalling its brand new ZB Commodore. The left and right seat belts have been installed incorrectly.
Oh,
Wow.
All right. Gee, if only we were still manufacturing them locally.
Yeah.
That's right. You can blame
That wouldn't
the
happen.
Germans.
All right. Well, but speaking of things that are a bit dodgy, Richard, you've unearthed the first electrified road.
Oh my God.
The world's first. It is sort of extraordinary. Fill us in on the details.
Sweden has come up with the solution to never running out of electricity for your electric car. Hamburg, you might be interested in this. It's come up with a track, right, like a Dodgem car track. Rather than the thing at the back of the Dodgem car going up there, it goes down into the road like a scale electric.
And a guy jumping on the front and turning the wheel.
The guy,
going,
yeah, exactly. No, little thing comes down, hooks into the track, the metal tram track type thing. It's just a single one, and then your car's constantly being charged as it follows this track. Sweden's rolling them out all over the country.
Wow.
It's seeing this as an opportunity to, and it does save, emissions, it does reduce emissions. It seems like a good idea, but I actually think it's terrible.
Great. Yeah, we had a look at the video earlier on, and I agree. I think it rates highly on the terrible scale.
Yes.
It's a big, terrible idea.
This is, for me, this is right up there with when electric cars were going to have battery swap stations.
Yes.
It's that same mentality that, we can just build it into what people do every day.
Sure.
Wouldn't it be better to invest in inductive charging so you can drive along and you don't actually have to connect to the road? Or, when you're parked at home, it just charges all the time.
Yeah.
I think the other thing with the battery swap idea, as it is with car sharing, and that may emerge in time, is that it's predicated on the thought that people are actually decent and helpful and look out for one another.
Yeah.
Whereas have you seen some of those share bikes around the place?
Yeah.
I don't think it's such a big idea.
People aren't decent.
But so Sweden maybe got this one wrong.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right, look, we'll see. We will keep moving. We'll finish it up with a quick whip around in terms of what's been in our garage, what we've been driving. Matt, obviously you've been driving cars that you can't talk about the driving of, but you have been steering something else. Fill us in.
I've been in the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo Turbo. So it's the new Panamera wagon. It's fast. It's all-wheel drive, 4-litre twin-turbo V8. and it goes from 0 to 100 in about That's how fast.
How long it takes
Yeah.
to say the word wow.
It's really good.
Yep.
It's fast. It's the most surprising thing about it for me is that it's super comfortable. It's got air suspension and it just rides beautifully and steers like a Porsche would. Obviously, it's not light and it's not great in tight corners. Because all-wheel drive can be a little bit hard to balance things out in tight corners, but generally it's a pretty fantastic offering. But
And have you got a rough price tag? Do you know what we're talking about there?
400?
Wow.
Yeah, look,
400?
it's a snip.
Yeah.
Hey, it's just small change. Richard, the car you've been driving, obviously it's worth more than 400 grand. You need to one-up Matt there.
It's not a Panamera. I do love that car. I haven't driven the new one, but I think that's a fantastic execution of, a limousine from a Porsche perspective.
It's a great execution as well.
Execution as well.
That was outstanding
Yeah.
execution.
Talking of executions, the Jaguar E-Pace is what I've been at the moment. The base spec S, or I suppose it's one up from the base spec, with the P300 engine, which is a 2-litre 4-cylinder, 221 kilowatt, 400 newton meter engine.
So it's hot hatch performance.
The performance is great. It's a really heavy car though. It feels like it's made of concrete, and my fuel has been through the roof. In fact, I put 60 litres in the 60-litre tank this morning. I used it all up, and
because that's the thing. I remember one of our valued contributors, Steve Corby, writing about the car and saying that it's smaller, yet it's made mostly of steel.
Yeah.
Whereas larger Land Rovers and Range Rovers are made largely of aluminium.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
right.
get this irony of a small car that's up towards a couple of tons in weight.
Yeah, you don't feel it in terms of the performance, the straight line performance. That 4-cylinder engine screams like a straight 6. It's really good, and it's got plenty of grunt. And it doesn't have, doesn't feel like it's struggling to push it. But you do see that fuel gauge dropping before your eyes.
Yeah.
I was just driving around town, I was getting 19 litres per 100.
Wow.
And then after some good motorway miles, I managed to drop that to 12.9. But 12.9 is as low as I can get it. And what did we say? 8 litres per 100 was the recommended suggestion.
Hey, here's a good one. My outcome for the Porsche was 12.9.
So both 12.9.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mine's
You've
with
got
a
a V8 and
twin
I've got a
turbo
4-cylinder.
V8 4-litre.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just to round that off, I've been in the Audi Q7 e-tron.
Oh, yeah.
Which combines a turbo diesel and electric motor. But your range is only about 40 kilometres on pure EV. The charge up time's relatively rapid. I think it's on a normal outlet. It's much less than 5 hours that you might expect on other cars, 2.5, something like that. But 40 k's just disappears like that. And all of a sudden the predicted range shrinks. So it's, in my book, not a real 40 k's when you're actually driving around. I just don't know whether it's worth all the rigmarole and the charging and all that stuff. I don't see it. But
I think it's one of those ones where if it was inductive and you could put a pod down, you park on top of it, it'd be one of those
Agree
things that
with that.
changed your mind about it.
Agree with that.
Totally.
I think that's true. I think the effort versus reward at the moment probably doesn't add up.
Yeah.
But if you could make the effort a little less, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point. Great point. Anyway, I think that has got us to the finish line. And I need to say thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Great. And thanks to our producer, Barbara, for dotting the technical I's and crossing the creative T's. Fortunately, we record this podcast in the afternoon because he doesn't like morning people or mornings.
Or people.
Or people. And thank you for listening. Please let us know what you think of the program. Search for Cars Guide on Facebook and Instagram and use the hashtag CGPodcast or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. And if you have a minute, like right now, rate and review us on iTunes. Another way to let us know what you think and helps others know about the podcast. Thank you. I hope you can join us next week. Until then, do you know what really grinds my gears?
Cyclists.
A dodgy clutch.